Once Upon a Wildwood is the story of Little Green Raincape, who sets off one day through the forest full of trees. It is, in fact, quite a wild wood that she sets off into. And she meets lots of different characters on the way. They each have very particular issues that they want to sort out, and Little Green Raincape, green for short, helps them out, actually, through the pages of the book. It's been 10 years since my last picture book, so I really felt, now was a really good time to do another picture book. And I just love picture books. I love the way the pages turn. I love the way that words and pictures work together in a picture book. So after 10 years, I thought I was ready to do another picture book, and I love fairy tales, so I thought I would do my take on some of my favourite fairy tales. I'm an illustrator who only ever writes in order to do the pictures. And so, when I think of a picture book, obviously what I think about are the pictures first. And I always start with drawings of my characters. And then I imagine the stories they might be able to tell me. And then I start the very, very difficult process of actually writing the words. That does take a lot of time, and I do have lots of help from brilliant editors at my publishers. And then once that is done, I really enjoy doing the illustrations. I love fairy tales because fairy tales are very special tales that can speak to the old and the young at the same time. Parents and children can share fairy tales. I think they mean a lot to us in all sorts of ways. I think they're timeless, and that's why they've lasted as long as they do. And I think we all have our own particular sort of favourite fairy tales. And for me, I think my favourite fairy tale is Beauty and the Beast, and that actually plays quite a big role in Once Upon a Wildwood. When I was little, I remember a wonderful version of Beauty and the Beast, and it was actually one of the Ladybird fairy tale retellings, and I loved those books. I did have, I think, the I had Little Red Riding Hood. I certainly had that. I had the Elves and the Shoemaker, and I had the Ladybird version of Beauty and the Beast. And I always remember the very last one of the final images, which is of the Beast lying amongst the rose petals, waiting, I think, almost despairing that Beauty would return. And that always really meant a lot to me, that image. And particularly the moment after, when Beauty does return and saves the Beast. I think we all have our favourite fairy tales, and I love revisiting the world of fairy tales. And in some ways, when I wrote Once Upon a Wildwood, I wanted to explore some of the different characters and what they might be up to after the fairy tales they appeared in finished. So the 7 dwarves are in the Wildwoods, getting into a little bit of trouble. The 3 little pigs are still doing what the 3 little pigs do, which is carrying out building repairs of various sorts. And the wolf is still wandering through the forest, helping people he meets along the way, but possibly not helping them quite in the way that you expect. I think the woods are a great setting for fairy tales because they seem to be endless, and you can get lost in the woods, particularly the wild woods. And I think you can get lost in the wild woods the way that you get lost in a story. So I think it's a lovely metaphor, I think, for the way that we enter into stories and we can lose ourselves in the stories in the way that you might lose yourself in the woods. Do you know, I think I relate mostly to the beast, I think. You can probably tell, you know, a little bit sort of, you know, furry around the edges, slightly scruffy possibly, but with a noble heart. I hope that comes across. And of course, you know, I live my own fairy tale because I am married to Princess Joanna of Norfolk. So that's a whole fairy tale in itself, which I might actually write one day. I've always thought that the scariest fairy tale villain is Rumpelstiltskin. I'm just saying Rumpelstiltskin, it's a great name, isn't it? I think he's scary because at first he seems as if he's there to help, and he's going to solve the problems that the princess has, you know, spinning all that straw into gold. And he seems as if he's helping out, but in fact he's got another motive. And again, I remember a great illustration of Rumpelstiltskin getting very cross and stamping his feet so hard that he falls through the floor. I think sometimes it's very nice to have a slightly scary fairy tale that sometimes can make you sort of, you know, pull the covers up close under your chin as you listen to it. Sometimes that's a nice feeling, isn't it? The slight feeling of chills when you're listening to a fairy tale. But I think what I also really enjoy about fairy tales is the fairy tale endings, when things actually do work out well. And in Once Upon a Wildwood, I don't want to give anything away, but things do work out well in the end. I wrote Once Upon a Wildwood because I felt as a fairy tale it was all about turning the page as you go through the story. And right at the end, Green is going to continue through the woods, and I think each step is another turn of the page. So who knows what she's going to get up to next, and I think I might be writing a little bit more about Little Green Rain Cape in the future.